It's the second week of deer camp,
And
and all the
all the
guys are
guys are
here.
here. We drink and
We
smoke and
shoot the camp, we shoot the bull, but we don't shoot no deer.
what's that? Is that the are there different
That's the
courses of that?
Yoopers.
Yeah, well,
Oh, there's a couple different
yeah,
choruses.
it's
Yeah,
like we drink and
There's
smoke
so
and
many dumb
fart
songs
and
about deer
eat,
camp.
but never shoot no deer.
I just, I just like we shoot the camp, we shoot the bull, but we don't shoot no deer.
You shoot the camp, just out there hammering deers, firing shots through the windows. Oh my gosh. Well, hey, welcome back to episode 29, I believe, of double check 29 of Failure at its Finest Hour. Tony is MIA tonight. It's another hostile takeover by a couple boys in Camel and Hunter's Orange
Yeah.
because tomorrow, when this episode will air, actually will be Thursday. So you hunters that are listening, who are on your probably
Should be a
second
federal
day,
holiday tomorrow.
your second day of
Oh, no, Ogden gets the day off on opening day, don't
Oh, most schools do. Kearney and Stevenson schools are closed.
they actually really they just shut her down because nobody's there.
Yeah. Well, dude, they have like 30 kids per class. So it's like, just don't fucking come because no one's coming anyways.
So this for you hunters out there listening to this, hopefully you downloaded the episode while you had some cell service, but this would be the the third day of deer camp. Opening day is tomorrow, which we're recording on the 14th. And we're going to start off this episode, and I'm going to read an excerpt from the Legendary Whitetails Living Legendary blog by Sam Ubl, and I'm going to read this straight up. So, Spotify guy who's sweaty in a basement, this one's for you. You cited it. Leave us alone. All right, here we go. The tradition of deer camp. Vacation days are put in at the beginning of each year with anticipation building for the next cup of Grandpa's Joe and maybe a shot at the big one Uncle Scott missed last year. Small towns close school the day before opener, and sales for hot hands and propane soar. Gas stations staff up for the big push, and supermarket delis are fully stocked to supply the masses. Step outside the eve before opening day and draw a deep breath. The smell of burning log fires infuse the air from chimneys of nearby deer camps around each bend, over the next hill, and across the way. Deer camp is more than a place. It's a tradition with generations of history in the making. The story of Uncle Jack shooting a doe from the hip never gets old. That dusty bottle of peach schnapps hasn't moved since he took his last pull. Big John's triple extra large orange parka has hugged the same bedpost since the season before his heart attack. No one moves it, and no one complains. A broken aluminum arrow shaft with a two-blade broadhead rests across the rack of a small buck cousin Nick took years ago when tree bark camo looked like tree bark and big bucks meant big bodies. So that's just the intro, and I can read another excerpt later, but it honestly gave me chills when I read it just now, and it gave me chills earlier when I read it, and so I
made me emotional.
I had to. It does. It definitely pulls on the heartstrings a little bit, and I know that we've all got some, maybe not necessarily, a couple of us have some memories of deer camp, but just going deer hunting in general is a big time tradition in the UP, and we're glad to welcome and usher in a hunting episode.
Beautiful rifle season.
Another beautiful rifle season, which is laden with snow up in the UP. So hopefully those big bucks
getting a good. This is the fucking perfect night for deer season opener in the UP right now. At least in Manistee.
Oh yeah,
I know the Blaze Army is going to be sitting early. It's snowing right now. The bucks are moving.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Plus, it's easier to track when there's a little bit of snow on the
ground. Especially when it's like this fresh, like wet snow.
Yep.
Leaves nice good tracks on top of the leaves underneath. Oh man, I wish I was going hunting tomorrow.
I know. My hunting spot fell through actually. Shout out to Evan Dulac, my good buddy, who I see very seldom, but when I do, it's always an incredible time. We're gonna go up to his grandfolks' place, and three of us, actually four of us, were gonna go hunting, but his uncle sadly passed. So my condolences to Evan, and we'll get him next year. So, but my dad and my brother, my dad's actually on his way to Manistee because where Chris lives, doxed.
Yeah, thanks.
But anyways, my dad's on his way to Manistee to go and hunt with one of his trap shooting buddies that he competes with, and so
nice.
he said he's gonna, if he shoots one there, he's gonna leave it for a processor, and I'm gonna have to come and pick it up. So Chris, I'll probably be swinging through your neck of the woods if my dad.
Yeah, you better not let me pick it up because there might be some fucking back straps missing.
Yeah, no, I will. I will definitely give you meat
Well,
for a
well, if
nice
he's
steak
listening, good luck, Steve.
at the old
Yeah.
Shiner Inn.
For sure. Yeah.
Man.
I like my venison cubed.
Yeah, I'm sure they always do good on grouse out there. That's that secret spot that I was trying to tell you about.
Mm.
I was trying to get my dad to let me and you go, but
Son of a
he's,
bitch. You didn't say it was a secret spot.
yeah, he's got, him and my dad went out and limited out. He's got like a
Motherfucker.
he's got like a, you know, like a razor or something like that, and just keeps the gun in the bag on the back. So yeah, they
like
did
fish in the
pretty well.
barrel.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. So
Son
anyways,
of a bitch.
uh,
I got late season still.
yeah, right. No, but that's actually that's an interesting story too. My dad is notorious, and I think he did this with his brothers. So like, my grandpa had a deer camp when he owned the bar up in Ontonagon. He used to own Roxy's. It was called Max Bar. And
Really?
That's actually,
no idea.
That's actually what the hat I'm wearing is. They called it Dirty Dick Saloon. My grandfather's name was Richard, for the listeners who don't know. And
Richard, this dirty dick.
Yep, and that's I don't know where he got it. I don't know where he got the nickname from, but we'll just let that rest with him easy in his grave. But anyways, he had the camp up there. My dad and a few of his brothers used to hunt up there, and man, they used to. I mean, the pictures that I have of them in the snow is ridiculous. Deer season used to
Really?
be wild back in the day, especially down on, you get down in the Norwich. My dad would always take me to camp every year, and we would just, he said, he would point out, he's like, oh yeah, this camp is here, this used to be lined with cars, and now nobody comes up there. There's been a big slump. You know, the chronic wasting disease and
Yeah.
whatever that other thing was. So but
There's a lot of different things that have contributed to that, but
yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just like the culture too.
I was about to say that.
But like even my old boss at my propane job said that during like deer season, you'd be scrambling to get to these guys' camps before opening day.
Yep.
And like on like the day before, like today, US 2 northbound would just be solid pickups all the way.
Everybody coming up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind
the
of
Blaze Army.
I kind of miss that. You know, back in college, I used to be able to come up to you know, for Thanksgiving and stuff, and I would see guys coming back downstate with a loaded up, you know, deer on the roof, you know, they had topper and everything just packed full of shit, and then the you know, bloody deer hanging off the side, and it was just like that nostalgic
and it's fucking
feeling.
Spoiled by the time you get back, and you're like, "Fuck, I love hunting."
Yeah, no way, dude. It's so cold in Michigan this time of year. Of course,
True.
down here it was like 70 degrees last week, and now we've had.
They say you're supposed to let the deer hang for like 21 days before you actually cut it up. Like you let it cure.
Let all the blood out and let it sit. Yeah,
but
I forget.
No.
There's a bunch of tips and tricks. Definitely got to skin it as soon as
I mean,
you
yeah,
can.
if your garage is sitting at 30 degrees, not a big deal.
If it's cold
or even lower.
I just don't think I could hang mine in my fucking backyard. I'd hang it that night, and the next day the cats would be all over it.
Yeah, you got a big cat problem.
And the neighborhood kids just like poking it and stuff.
There's fucking like airsoft BBs
shit.
lodged in the skin. Like, what the fuck is it?
Some like 16-year-old assholes will like put firecrackers in it.
Oh, they TP'd my fucking deer.
So deer camp is a tried and true tradition up in the UP, and there's actually there's a really cool story online, and it's by this guy Richard Mickmerheisen, and his
That's a made up name.
His dad, no, it's not. His dad or his grandpa Wes made this little video that it was essentially like a slideshow video that's narrated. It's on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and type in Michigan Deer Country Rocking Chair Camp, you can find that video, and it's really interesting. It's a slideshow, like I said, that's narrated, but they're all pictures. And I'll give you the quick story here. So it's called the Rocking Chair Camp, and it's actually on the way out to our deer camp, where my dad and my brother are going hunting. after he hunts in Manistee. And camp span, they hunted at it for 40 years. They started in 1937, and they're like 5-6 guys from Holland, and they did a bunch of research, and they found that Ontonagon County was the place to go deer hunting. And so they would drive up to the Straits of Mackinac, and this was in 37, 20 years before the opening of the Mackinac Bridge. So they would take the ferry across, and
Wow.
so they said that eventually for deer hunting UP, the lines where you'd have to just wait for hours and hours and hours to get on a ferry to go across the Straits of Mackinac. And they got to a little a shop. They went to I guess it was the DNR conservation officer post. They gave them a map of the area, and they said this is where you can hunt. And they told them not to get lost. And they were told by the locals at a gas station that there were so many deer that they should drive with their headlights on during the daytime. So,
Wow.
and in their first year in 1937, when they went up, they pitched a canvas tent, and they hunted as hard as they could. And it snowed. The snow was up to their knees, and they were sleeping on straw mattresses. And that's how they started. So, really cool little mini. It's almost like a little documentary, but it's, like I said, it's a vintage like slideshow. And these guys are from Holland. And eventually they built a tar paper shack, which I don't even know how that insulated or what a tar paper shack is.
It didn't.
But
You just run the wood stove 24/7.
yeah, just apparently tar paper and studs. And they got those studs from the Ewan Lumber Company. But one interesting fact from that story is that they, in 1968, years after the tar paper shack, they had built a new red building that is still there, and I drive past it when we go to camp with my dad. But in 68, they shot their biggest buck, which was they drove it back down to Holland after they dressed it out and hunted the 10 days of deer camp that they would hunt every year. And it was it weighed in at 237 pounds.
It's a goddamn moose.
Yeah, and when they weighed it at camp, it was like 240 something. But obviously, the rest of the blood and everything out of there, which is pretty insane. And some of the pictures of these guys' buck poles, they had a year where there was 11 guys out there, and they all had like an 8-pointer plus, and they're all just massive, thick in the neck, just big 200-pound plus deer. It was insane.
Wow.
So it's interesting seeing that story. My uncle Bob posts it like every other year on Facebook. And
yeah,
it's crazy driving past that camp and not even, you see all these rundown, and Upers, you know what the Norwich Road is. It's a long, winding, barely plowed road, and it's full of deer camps. And I've always wondered, I drive by them, every year for the past 20 years. And as I guess not the recent years, but for the past 20 years, and I just see those camps and wonder, what the stories were, and seeing the names posted on the above the front door.
I've always wanted to do like some sort of like deer camp tour where you actually go with like a camera or just like a recorder and just sit down and have conversations at different camps and talk to some of these old like 80-year-old guys, who built the camp years and years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of incredible stories there. And I know back in the day when we would go to camp, my grandpa and his buddies would know the guys in the surrounding camps, and we go stop in and see how they're doing and that stuff. And it's always a good time.
That's like the deer camp experience. Like when it's like a community, really.
Yeah.
Like at least for our camp, like you'd go to camp for, I don't know, say you had the weekend, like opening day was on the weekend or something, or during the week, you'd take Thursday to Monday. You'd do 4 days of hunting. And that first day, like you just like is just all preparing. You're going to the grocery store, you're loading up coolers. Like that poem said, the fucking deli, you're getting the summer sausage.
Yeah.
You're getting the steak for the chili.
Just cholesterol, salt,
just all sodium,
beers.
just hot dogs, brats, beers, beans,
Yeah, we got to get a camp together, the four of us.
I know, we got to build one
and get out there. We
got to build one.
Get after it, buy a small plot of land. And
once Dylan retires, I'll be like almost 40. That means my oldest kid will be like 18.
And then it's deer.
So
Then it's deer time
yeah, then
for
it's
the
deer
boys.
camp time. We can build one.
Man, I would love that. And
That'd be sweet.
I know if my dad listens to this, he's probably gonna be knocking himself because we had a camp that slept like 12,
Yeah.
and it's
Oh,
just
well,
property taxes in Ewan and all this
yeah.
stuff, and
Well, that's the thing
the
is our
economy
family's doing the
crashed.
same thing. We lost our camp and I'll never forget it. Like the memories we had. I mean, we spent like years, my uncle and my dad and my uncles and my grandpa, they spent years taking down barns and saving wood, collecting shit from the mill, railroad companies like the ties and shit.
Yep.
And then they bought this property, and I was young at the time, so I didn't like really realize what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then I got older and they had clear cutted it and made like trails into it. And then finally, I think I was maybe like 11 or 12, they started building, and I was helping them build the camp. And we spent a good couple years there hunting and making memories and all that shit. But after the mill closed down, it kind of fizzled that out.
Yeah.
Was that like 2008?
Yeah. That was the whole the start of the shitstorm that dissolved the Smurfit Stone paper mill in Ontonagon. But
Yeah. Aaron, have you been out? You've been out to that camp before, hey?
I've been out there a couple times. Yeah, I think we went inside once. We saw the lean-to by the fireplace, like by the outdoor thing you guys
That was
had.
built. That was built at night during while the fire was going. You're like, it's fucking cold out here. We should put a lean-to up around here so to reflect the fire. And all of a sudden, they just take all the sheet metal and build a lean-to.
That's awesome. Just incredible deer camp stories. I've got one
Yeah,
after. I'm gonna read another segment of this Sam Ubl's on Legendary Whitetails, a tradition of deer camp. Um, keep deer camp alive. The tradition of deer camp has grown roots across much of the upper Midwest, but a tree only grows if it gets water and light is cast upon it. As generations come and go, the legacies they leave behind influence new stories and inherited tradition. If you let the tradition die with the loss of members who carry them, the leaves will fall from the tree and its roots will dry up and wither away. My grandpa, Tony Ubl, made the finest corned beef. He'd make a couple of roasts before opening weekend, slice them against the grain a quarter inch thick, and serve it cold every opening day after the morning sit. As the family would return back to the shack, the corned beef would be gone before the air had time to touch it. Tony slipped on a snow-covered log and hurt his shoulder while still hunting his way back to the shack one morning. The fall reminded him of his age, and Tony decided it would be the last weekend at deer camp. It wasn't a decision he let be heard. He just didn't show up the following year. The corned beef everyone loved so much was sorely missed, but not as much as Tony. Deer camp is something to look forward to. It's something everyone can count on. Friends and family come together for more than the hunt. They do it for the camaraderie of doing something different than the everyday norm. It's the stories retold year after year, mom's chili and grandma's cookies. It's the pile of ladybugs swept outside next to the shoe rug and the stinky outhouses that accounts for more jokes than anyone can keep track of.
oh, the shit pile.
So it's man, and like I said, that's an excerpt out of Legendary Whitetails website, Living Legendary blog, The Tradition of Deer Camp by Sam Ubl. And that, I mean, just incredible writing overall, but it really encapsulates the feeling of deer camp or just deer hunting in general. That first morning is just like you're anticipating the anticipation that you feel to the point of like anxiety. You're just
you're
like
waiting for that crunch.
exactly. You're so amped to be out there, and it's just like, but it's also like a time of reflection and a time to slow down, disconnect. Before the world of cell phones is when we have all been out hunting, and it's just I crave it, and I am really bummed that I guess I probably could throw something together for this weekend or the second weekend, Thanksgiving, but it's going to be
There's
hard.
a chance.
I
could start baiting a spot. I could start baiting a spot on state
I'd have
land.
to go down and get my shotgun and just because I'm below the rifle line here. So for those of you who don't know, there is a line that is drawn across Lower Michigan and you cannot use a rifle when you're below that line, and I'm
It's
currently below
crazy.
that line. So,
Yeah.
but
And I was gonna say like that that last part, if like for the people who are listening that aren't like into hunting, I get it. I get that you're not like, if you don't like killing animals, fine. But the whole, like, for at least in the UP or where we're from, or even the Midwest, I think the experience is more a tradition too, of just being with your family or like this group of people that you've been spending years building this thing and doing
yeah,
together. And it's really cool when you think about it. Like, you kind of just shut all your shit off, you go out to the woods for a couple days, and you just reset.
yeah, and a lot of people. I mean, there's in that article that I was reading, they mentioned there's a guy who's like not that serious about hunting, but he's serious about his family and he's serious about tradition. He
Mm-hmm.
shows up every year, and he helps. In that the other story that I talked about, the rocking chair camp, they ate every meal together. They waited till the guys got in, and had lunch together, and then waited for the evening sit, and everybody helped clean dishes, and it was just
Yeah.
nobody had to tell anybody to do anything. They just did it. They just jumped in, and that was their song and dance for the that 10 days out of the year, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
truly
It's weird.
indicative. I
It's
mean,
like it's a weird primalism thing, like kind of like a primal thing that happens where like these people, like, you lay into this like tradition
yeah.
routine thing. Like our camp too is like, you lay into these roles. Like my dad was the camp chef,
Mm,
and my grandpa like always had the fire going, or was working on the road, or digging ditches to drain water.
yeah.
And if you said you were bored, you were either going to go shoot chipmunks or help dig ditches in the road to drain water. You know,
Oh
it's
man.
cool. Deer camps, it's a cool thing. It's hunting camp, really. I wish the next camp that I do has more of like a fishing focused
Yeah.
aspect to it too, like a trout camp or something.
Yeah. And I've heard of a fair amount of those from a
All
buddy.
over the Fox River.
Yep. That and what's that river? The Sleepy.
Yep. Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of a
Oh, I
big
hear the ambalam. Is that at your house?
yeah, there's always riffraff going on around here.
Aaron lives in the hood, by the way. You live in the
It's
cut
not
for real.
it's not quite the hood, but
Dude, that first night I stayed at your house, I watched a guy with a boot on his leg hobble up to a car like a block away and do a drug deal
uh,
and hop back.
it's not that bad.
It's
I'll,
not that.
I'll bring my parents out.
Oh shit.
You're good. You're good.
Oh
You're
god,
good.
that's
Anybody
funny.
anybody sees actually the first week I spent in this, and maybe the listeners enjoy this story. First week I spent in this house, both all my roommates were gone, and I was trying to go to bed, and I heard a knock on my window. And I had the room closest to the road in the front
Hmm.
door, and I heard a knock on my window, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Before that, before living here in Grand Rapids, I lived in Big Rapids, which is like Marquette for the Lower Peninsula. It's
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of rednecks, whatever. So people kind of leave you alone. But I heard this knock on my window, and I'm like, already. So I got like a boy's axe, like a 16-inch handle, and I walk out on the front porch, and there's this guy, and he sees the axe, and he cowered. He's like, "Hey man, I live upstairs. I
Whoa,
locked
whoa, whoa,
myself
whoa,
out."
whoa.
Yeah, and I was just like, and he's like, "My name's Joe. I live upstairs," and it ended up being cool.
Oh, that's
I let him
funny.
into the front door, and he went up to his apartment. But um, yeah, the the woods
just
in me was deep that day. I was
just
I
the
was
axe in
definitely
the hand.
I was definitely a little more gung ho than I should have been. People down
Wow,
here
Man,
got
you never know.
handguns.
yeah,
You never know.
yeah. Well,
But
you never fucking know. Aaron with an axe in his hands, he's had a couple opportunities.
I still have a
I was
throwing.
saying, you never know. It could have been like a fucking crackhead.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, true.
You
I
fucking
still
know.
I still have
Some drunk bastard.
a throwing axe in my in the door compartment of my
Could you
Down your
imagine?
roommate's like
side door.
ex-girlfriend.
Could you
Yeah.
imagine actually defending yourself with a blade though? It would be so freaking violent.
So metal.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I and now since I've just retreated to to staying in my house and letting those knocks go unanswered.
Yeah, I never answer the door
But
ever.
back to
But
the
no, back to deer camp.
yeah. I
Um,
what do you got, Chris?
no, go ahead.
The one, I mean, there's tons of stories from when I was a kid when I didn't even hunt and I would just go and stay at night
Right.
with my dad and my grandpa and his friends.
Yeah,
and
that's how it started for me too.
it was obscene. Like my mom would make a bunch of pasties, send my dad out there with them. She'd make cookies. There was a ton of one year this guy brought a bunch of like lake perch that he had caught, did a perch fry, and it was just
Ooh,
like plates and
wow.
plates and plates of food. I mean,
Those
ate like
guys were eating
kings.
out there, huh?
Yeah. And I mean, it was just like my grandpa would make
Yeah, we
his
just had a
bar.
pot of chili for like 6 days.
My grandpa would make his bar chili. I mean, it was no like, and I remember working at Pat's Foods, which all of us did in our hometown.
Hmm.
And I remember seeing like the deer hunting crowd come in and like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, it was just obscene the amount of shit that they would buy.
I
And at
know.
that store, they were spending like $600-700 on
Oh,
food because it
dude,
was so expensive.
you're talking
They
$28
probably bought like
ribeyes.
a couple steaks and like a 12-pack of Diet Pepsi
Yeah, they're going big.
and
Yeah,
like
you
a
got it.
pound of chicken
For those of
and a
you deer,
fucking rotisserie chicken that was $20.
Rotisserie chicken.
for those listeners that live in the lower peninsula of Wisconsin or Illinois, and if you're going up to the UP to hunt, you have a camp up there, buy your groceries before you come into the state.
Do not buy groceries in the UP,
Oh my gosh.
or if you do, bring Vaseline.
Oh my gosh. We should get into first deer kills though.
Okay.
Chris, you got one locked and loaded?
Yeah, I have a good deer kill actually. My one and only kill is a pretty good one. I don't remember how old I was. I think I was like 15. I couldn't drive yet, but my dad was letting me drive out at camp and shit on the dirt roads.
Yeah.
So I must have been 15. But basically every time I go hunting, when I was a kid, I would get bored and come back to camp early for lunch. I'd come back at like 11 and just start fucking around at the camp because my dad usually wasn't hunting. He was usually at the camp cleaning or cooking. So I went to the camp and was hanging out with my dad. And I don't know why we were whispering, like we were muttering to each other because Scott's blind was like maybe 100 blinds up in the woods, 100 yards, not 100 blinds, 100 yards up in the woods. And then Jake's blind was, we only had like 7 acres. So we kind of kept it tight.
Shoot over the property line and hope it stumbles onto the property
Yeah.
line.
Well, most of the other was paper company, which was public land, state land that they sold or gave to public auction. And so Jake was on that, but regardless, we were all close. So I started a fire out in the fire pit outside we had a trailer. We hadn't built the camp by now. We had like this big aluminum, we called it the turd, like an aluminum fucking modular home that we dragged in there on two
Was it
wheels.
actually brown? Was it actually brown?
Yeah, it was a big brown aluminum trailer, like the ones you see on construction sites and shit.
Yeah.
Doopy gave it to us.
Got it for $200.
Yeah, John Doopy said if we pull it off his property, it's ours. And it was fucking crazy getting it off of his property. It was crazy getting it into our property too. Like multiple vehicles stuck and shit.
Well, yeah, taking it back to the tricky trails ain't very
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like
Right.
two trucks, a Jeep, and a come along, and then it got into the property. But anyways, I'm starting the fire and I'm throwing a hatchet at the tree, just sticking it into the tree or missing the tree, and it's bouncing behind the trailer. So I go grab it. So I hit the tree and then I throw it and it bounces behind the trailer. And I pick it up, and as I look up, there's a 5-pointer looking at me. Just like a young, healthy buck.
Yeah.
Not big.
Just a 5-point, like just getting into that past the basket.
Well, I always called it a 6, but it was really a 5.
Mm.
Like it was barely a point. But it was like a 150, so not a bad buck. And I was looking at him and he's looking at me, and then he puts his head back down and he's sniffing the ground because he's rutting. So I pick up the hatchet and I run to the camper, and I'm like, Dad, there's a deer outside. He's behind the camper. And he's like, shut up. And then he looks out the window and he's like, he kind of like laughs, but he's like whispering. He's like, "Holy fuck, get the rifle." And like, I get the 30-06. It's a break action single shot, crack it open. I'm like, "Where's the bullets?" And we have like a green aluminum ammo can, like an old shitty one.
Yeah.
And like he goes to grab it and he kicks it and it slides across the trailer, fucking bounces on the wall. Shells, like, it was comical, it was
Yeah.
theatrical, like the fucking shells flew out of it. And fucking fumbles around, jams it in the chamber, cracks it shut. And by then, this horny buck was so oblivious to everything that was happening, the fire, the noise, the pandemonium,
Young and
that he
dumb.
had just sniffed his way in front of the trailer. Like the front door opened, we had a makeshift porch, and he was head down by the fire pit. So then my dad's like aiming the rifle at the deer, and then he looks at me and hands it to me, and I'm like, ugh. He's like, "Just fucking do it. Just shoot the fucking deer." I'm like, "Okay." So
Like
aim
angry about it.
broadside, and like the muzzle is like barely past the door of the trailer. It's probably illegal. I don't fucking care. But pow, it's like bing, ears ringing. Deer, it dropped him. Deer did like a somersault,
Really?
just dropped him like a bad habit. So it was a clean kill. I think I hit him in the lungs or the heart.
Dang. That's awesome.
I
I think
felt
there,
bad though as a kid.
yeah, it's weird.
It's
It's weird though. And
a weird feeling.
a lot of people don't understand that. They think, for those listeners that think it's cruel, also thank you for listening this far if I'm explaining
Yeah,
this.
for real.
But I will say that, I think it was like Bear Grylls or something like that, who's kind of a hack, but or no, it wasn't Bear Grylls. Maybe it was Steve Rinella, who's not a hack. He mentioned that
Definitely not a hack.
he mentioned that, like, when you go out and you hunt and you feel that when you pull the trigger and you watch the life leave that animal's eyes, yes, it's visceral, yes, it's emotional, but you're also taking on that weight yourself. You're electing to have that feeling, versus if you go and buy, there's rich folks that love to go down to the grocery store and buy some wild shot elk and all this shit,
Mm-hmm.
and they have no idea, A, the work that goes into it, but B, which is more important, the feeling that you have when you take that, especially the first one. The first one is always like, it's just
The
heart
hardest, yeah.
racing, but you really feel that, and you understand, the full life cycle. And there's a ton of other podcasts that talk about this, and hunting shows, they talk about how that the life cycle of that animal, which is probably going to die of starvation or get hit by a truck that's going to kill a family of 4,
Yeah.
like it,
That's
it's
damaging the corn that you're buying at the store anyways.
yes,
So
I
shut
mean
the fuck up, you know?
it's exactly that, and that's a more I guess brutal way to describe it, but it is true. And for those who haven't hunted, I mean, I would say just go on a hunt. Whether or not you're going to shoot anything, your friends are probably going to love it and shoot something, and they'll describe the same feeling to you. It's really weird and universal. You have that,
Yeah.
whether or not you'll admit it or not, you have that feeling, especially as a young person going out and hunting. So,
I guess I didn't mean shut the fuck up about it either. I just meant like it's just really, like, if you think about it, like you can't be anti-hunting but also buy store-bought
yeah,
meat
because
and food and shit.
you are vicariously killing that animal.
Mhm.
When you go out and buy a pound of ground beef, you paid the price on that piece of cattle. You paid the debt
Some
of that
people,
thing.
so I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
obviously, I don't have a problem with it, but um, some people like understand that, but they still don't want to like kill the animal themselves. You know what I mean?
sure, sure,
For
Like,
sure.
but they're like, yeah, I respect it and all that shit too. Like,
definitely.
Yeah.
that's like another way to look at it. Like, for example, like Kelly can't, like, she would never be able to fucking kill anything like that.
Yeah,
But
True.
she fucking eats, you know, a shit ton of meat. Like,
yeah.
she
Yeah.
respects it.
And I would
Yeah.
say,
Let
I
me
would,
Some
say
people like
this.
that too, and not everyone can like is capable. It's not even like a big deal. Like, capable of, like, you know, shooting a living thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I
Because
haven't
like for
killed
some
one
people it's a
since I've
bigger
been
deal, and
15.
some people it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And
same thing with fishing too. Like,
oh yeah.
you know, you're going fishing, you're gonna kill that fish, you're gonna fucking slice her up, and you're gonna throw her on the in the grease, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm a pretty big catch and release fisherman actually,
well, yeah,
and
bass and shit. You
but no,
know,
I know I get what you mean, Dylan, and you make a good point because it's been what I'm 27, could be 27 now. I haven't killed a deer in 12 years, and
It's
I
been a
also
while.
haven't really dedicated myself to hunting a deer. Like I've done it a little bit, but I haven't like desired, and I also haven't really thought about actually killing one. Well, I have,
Yeah.
but there is a certain responsibility you have to accept or take on in able to kill an animal.
Yeah.
yeah.
And to
'Cause
do
you
the
gotta
right things
after you
to
kill it, you gotta
And
you
processing
got
it's gross.
yeah, you
I'll
gotta
I'll, I'll be honest with you.
you gotta fucking take all the innards out. You gotta
You can
chop
pull
it
his
up. You
guts
gotta
out of his
fucking
butthole,
process it.
man.
You gotta
yeah, you got to
you
get
gotta do a
real.
bunch. It's like you have like there's like a bunch of responsibilities like as soon as you pull that trigger. Like not even like
Yeah,
Yeah.
emotionally,
No,
like
all the
just
work
reacting.
begins after you kill the
yeah.
deer.
And last year actually, when I went out, I bought a tag. I was like, oh my god, I have the best opportunity. My buddy was like, hey, I got this place. It's got these tower blinds. It's got tree stands. It's got all this cornfield nearby. Perfect. Tons of acreage above the rifle line. You can use a rifle. And I was like, this is awesome. Bought my tag. And we go out there, and there's deer everywhere, but they're all the size of like German shepherds. They're just tiny. They're just
Mm,
like the smallest thing. And
That's how the deer down here are, man.
and part of
They're
his
fucking tiny.
part of me was just like, I haven't shot it, I haven't had venison in my freezer in years, other than like
mm-hmm.
secondhand stuff my dad gets, which is always great. But I was just like, if
Shout
I'm
out to
gonna
Steve.
do this, and the place I was at, there's like deer processing places around, but it's also like 2 hours north of me, so it's just like they always hang them, skin them, butcher them the night they shoot them. The
Mm,
morning, night, whatever time it is, they're just like immediately. They have like a food saver kind of thing,
Yeah.
like a Ziploc freeze dry thing. And I'm just like, I was like, man, if I'm gonna go through all that work and have like a house dog sized deer, it ain't worth
mm.
it. And
Yeah,
so I paid the whatever $70 or whatever the hell it was.
to process it.
No, I didn't shoot a deer.
Oh, you bought a tag and didn't use it.
I passed on everything,
Well, good for
and
you.
and I was just like, it's just not worth it. Like I wasn't looking for a big buck. I mean, you can grease a doe down here and have meat for the whole year. I mean, if you get a
Yeah.
big doe, but I just couldn't do it. I was like, I had plenty that were in range, had crosshairs on them, the whole thing. I was hunting my buddy's 30-06, and we are up in a tower blind. I was with him, and there was plenty of deer that we were both looking at, whispering back and forth. And we hunted 3 days, and we're just like, man, there's just nothing, And they go out for bow, and they got crossbows. I could have shot a fucking slingshot at a deer. They had so many fucking weapons in that place to gun a deer down with, and just didn't do it. And it's not because I didn't want to, but I had respect enough to say like, all right, these let them go, let them grow, kind of thing. There
Mm.
were button bucks, there were small doe, all this stuff. So, but
You're listening
it's
to
a weird thing.
Responsible Hunting on NPR.
That was good.
Thank you, Aaron. Another excerpt from a hunter who doesn't hunt anymore.
And I
Aaron,
That's
think,
funny.
what's up, Dylan?
I want to say, did you tell your story about your first one yet?
No, I haven't yet.
So I never never killed a deer.
No.
No.
But you've
But I
been
mean, I've been hunting,
you've been
fishing. I mean, I just never had an opportunity.
you've been
Did you
Never
go
had a
hunting
camp. You know, like
when you
I
lived in?
went out to Chris's camp one year. That was actually a lot of fun. I got to experience some of the shit he was talking about with the actual like deer camp. That was the only time I've ever.
That was
No, there
fun,
was a
dude.
few other times that I went to the old Hawkins camp. RIP, but
Rip, dude. Well, dude, come on,
but I'm
dude.
just saying that that was like the one time where I went out to a camp and like went hunting, like when I went to Chris's camp.
yeah.
Oh,
And then I went and sat in a blind by one of my old houses one time, one season. Didn't see anything. I sat in a fucking blind, baited for a couple months. Like it was pretty much the whole thing. I just never saw a buck come in. Tons of doe. Like I think I remember one time, like one night, I saw like eight. There was like 8 does just at my bait pile, and just nothing.
And
Nothing
there's
came
Oh,
in,
the doe
but
tag.
yeah, I didn't have one. All I had was I think I had a combo.
Yeah. I guess you
Yeah,
have.
we'll
I guess they're
tell.
only location based. But sorry.
Seeing as I don't have like a good story to tell, I will tell a story about
good buddy
one of my
yours.
best friends from the army. I'm trying to find a good picture you guys might be able to see. But shout out to the YouTube.
Oh my
Holy
gosh, dude.
shit,
Where did
dude.
he shoot that swamp donkey?
Wow.
Upstate New York.
New York?
The crazy
Jesus.
thing is not only is it just a massive fucking buck, but he fucking shot this with a goddamn bow. This thick boy,
Really?
Wow.
Like
two
like
217 pound, 217 pound, 20
Oh my.
point buck.
What'd you
That
say?
rack is
You
like
say 20?
abnormal, dude.
200,
No, what?
27?
217 pound,
How many points?
20 point buck. 20
Oh my
point.
20.
gosh. I didn't even
Dude,
count that many. The
that's
brow
a
tines on
mythical
that thing were
creature.
like
Yeah.
14 inches long.
Yeah, that is
Jeez.
big ass deer, dude.
Yeah,
And like,
Damn.
so
man.
this dude, like, he like literally is like in like fucking hunting magazines now. Like this deer is in like hunting magazines
That's
Really?
awesome.
because
You,
it was like, and it was an archery kill, so it was like a big deal.
yeah.
Mm.
What was his name? Does he care to, I mean, he's in magazines. He shouldn't care, right?
Colt Russell,
Damn.
Colt, like the gun Russell.
Nice job,
I know that
Colt.
sounds funny, but
Nice
Yeah,
I don't
buck,
know.
dude.
shout out, man.
Does he listen?
Damn.
Probably not.
Oh, well, nice buck anyways,
Well,
buddy.
he's in magazines. I hope it, it'd be good
We're
for us to
famous, so
listen.
congratulations.
Oh my gosh. Damn, dude.
Dude,
That's a fucking big
dude,
ass
on
deer.
Google, fourth one down. I typed in Colt Russell, fourth one down, Colt Russell, 20 point buck.
Dude, see, he's famous. We're famous. This is all good,
Yeah,
bro.
outdoor life. That's crazy. I never did that. But anyways, yeah. But that's my story.
Cool,
Big
man.
shout out to one of my best friends.
Good
I never
shit.
shot a buck.
Oh,
Shot
yeah.
plenty of deer, ate plenty of fish, but just never had the opportunity. Like I could have. I mean, I could have killed the fucking doe, but I just didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll all go buck
I
hunting.
would. I honestly like. Would I kind of like now like just my perspective and like I don't judge anyone, but like I really would just want to the type of hunting I want to do. I don't want to like sit in a blind. I want to like go walk and like
You go stalk
Stock.
Yeah.
a buck.
like
Yeah.
do that and maybe take up archery. Whenever I get enough money to dive into that fucking
Yeah.
Yeah.
obsession because it's fucking expensive.
Yeah.
I'm more of a small game hunter
Yeah.
these days. Just easier.
It is
You
a lot
know.
more convenient to go bird hunt. You just throw, I mean, you keep the gun in the truck and you just take a fucking drive down trail.
Throw a vest on and walk in the woods.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
that's the cool thing about like walking and hunting is like you don't need a bait, like you don't need a blind. You just fucking go and like
Especially like, dude, since it's snowing like tonight, tomorrow would be a perfect morning to go for a walk with a rifle and just see what the fuck happens.
yeah.
I know I probably won't kill as many deer, but
Yeah. Man,
it'll just be a little bit more enjoyable for me.
maybe we should plan like a late bird hunt on snowshoes or something.
It'd be fun. Or
Get
cross
every-
country skis.
Get everybody in the mix on the fucking
Yeah, I'll FaceTime you guys.
up north. We that can be a pipe dream of ours to get a camp together.
Yeah.
Build a camp together or just get one, get a shitty little dumpy little joint with
Yeah.
much land
That-
to hunt on. Throw
That
up
should be our
some
Keno
blinds.
fund.
Yeah, dude. That's a good point.
Stick build. We could make a barn dominium, just like a big old pole
Honestly,
barn.
A barn
it'd be a good idea to
dominium?
buy land that is like on the lake or something, dude. That shit's always going up in price.
Oh yeah, dude.
You
Make an
split 4 ways
investment
on
out of
that,
it too.
I
Split
think
like 4 or 5 ways on it.
I think man,
Bear Creek.
I don't think I mean if
That'd
we
be sick,
if we
dude.
got one up in Ontonagon County.
What about those Superior Shores there? Those condominium things that failed at the end of the Fire Steel Road there?
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Man, I
buy one of those.
I want
on
some
the
out in the woods,
buy-
not on
if
the
you buy
lake.
it-
I don't want a
yeah.
lake house with
Yeah,
you
but-
clowns.
dude, if we buy a place on the lake, our ladies will love it.
I
And then
want-
they'll be like, we'll go on the beach.
I just want a place that's like out on the turkey trails, easily accessible, but much land to hunt on for bird
Yeah.
and deer.
What's the thing about out there is like you're not gonna get too much land.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
It's all
true.
So
sectioned
much
off.
shit. Like there's so much public land out there,
Yeah.
and
That's
then
that's the good thing though.
well, I'm
Public
saying
camp.
like you can't just like but fucking take a bunch of
Mhm.
acreage. You know what I mean?
I'm
I'd
all
rather just buy a 40 that
I'm all,
butts up to state land.
I'm all about
Yeah.
having a pop up too. Just take a backpack out there, your rifle, sandwiches,
Hmm.
enough shit to stay warm. 5-gallon bucket, pop that fucker down, pop up blind. That's
Shit,
what I might do this year.
that's what I do.
I might go rogue and just try and haul
That's
something
what
out of the woods and
that's what I
shit.
did last year. I
But
did that last year. I found a couple buck rubs and put a pop up right by the buck rub, and I was like, well, let's see what happens.
didn't see
Didn't see
shit.
anything, but
Oh god, not even a
hey,
doe, not even a
worth it.
spare doe.
Yeah. No, I
Oh
didn't bait though. I just put estrus up.
yeah, damn. I guess I'll go into my first and only buck. Uh, yeah, it was. I think I was like 16 or 17 years old, and I went out to camp, and I was like, "All right, Dad, I'm gonna hunt on my own." I'd gone years prior, skipped a few years, was into skateboarding. Wasn't cool enough to be into drugs, I guess, but skateboarding
Element.
and music. But yeah, the year I went and gunned one down, I was sitting in the blind for a couple days. I think it was deer season opened on like a Friday, maybe a Saturday. We got lucky that year, and I could look back, but it's not worth it now. But anyways, I went out, sat in the blind. When I walked into my blind before light, I we had a bunch of wolves in the area, or at least a couple wolves that we were aware of, and I walked out there, and sure as shit, in like these little poplar stands that were on the path next to my blind, I hear like crashing through the brush, but I heard it was like a gallop, and so I had my rifle in my hands, safety off. I was ready, but it was before first light, so anything that I would have shot would have been in a self defense because I thought it was a wolf. But so I get out there, and I had an old Android like HTC phone, and I didn't have anything to do on but read Dracula. I read Bram Stoker's Dracula, um, and I was freaked
Good
out
read.
enough. Like there'd be like chickadees that would land on top of a blind, and for all those listeners that do deer hunt, and for those who don't, if you're in a blind and a bird lands on top of your shitty wooden blind, plywood blind, it sounds like it is
Sounds
it
like
is the
Saipan.
it is the loudest thing on planet Earth. So, anyways, so I'm sitting in my blind, and it's like late afternoon, probably like 3 o'clock, and I'm like looking through. There's like a big bunch of trees right before my bait pile, and there's two trees that are off to the left, and they're probably 14 inches in diameter, very tall. Um, and there's does on the pile, and they're getting kind of spooked. Chickadees, partridge, turkeys. I mean, there's fucking everything in there. It's a party. And I see a nose stick out on the other side of these two trees towards my bait pile, towards the center of my field of vision. And I'm like, okay, there's another deer. I counted the deer that were in there, and this thing takes another step forward, and I can see he bends his head down, and it was a buck, and I could see his nose. I couldn't see his eye, but I could see the antler sticking out, and I counted 4 tines on either side, and I was like, and I couldn't see brow tines. I was like, this is either a really nice 8 or it's a very young 10 point. And my heart, I'd never forget this because this is the first real buck. I've seen button bucks and spike horns, and I actually passed on them for my first. And I was like, I'm just like freaking out. Like I'm just like huffing and puffing. And this deer either must have heard me,
You
sniffed
got the
me.
fever.
He thought something was weird. And this deer picked his head up to his eyeball is still behind the tree. And then I've never seen a deer do this. And given I've only hunted, a handful of seasons, but the deer backed up, and he didn't even turn around. He just backed up from he sniffed something weird, and I'm freaking out. I'm like,
Like
no.
Homer Simpson
like
backing into the bush.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. So he backs up. I know this sounds like a tall tale, but I'll never forget this. He backed up, and I'm like, no. Do I have to sit another fucking 5 days for this thing to finally sneak out? And back then I didn't have the patience. Then a 4-point walks into the pile, perfect broadside. He's standing on top of the pile, and I just run one right through. I was like, I ain't going through this again. I pulled the trigger. He ran.
You're like, no.
You're not even nervous. Yeah, you weren't even nervous. You're just like, motherfucker.
Yeah, I was pissed because I was like so impatient at this age. At that age, I had no understanding of conservation, of waiting it out, waiting for that. Because some guys now they want the deer to tease them. If you get a deer on opening morning at the first light, you're just like, well, fuck, the hunt's over. I did all this work and it was easy, you know. And I had none of that in me. At the time, I had none of that in me, and so I greased this thing.
Get that combo, bro.
And I threw my rifle on my shoulder and chambered another round, and then just walked back to camp. My dad was like, I heard the shot, whatever. We go out there at the sled, track this thing at, like I said, 20, maybe 40 yards at most, and he's piled up there. And yeah, that was my first deer.
Yeah,
I think it's still in the garage somewhere under the rack, but yeah, just
That's
a small
good,
little basket and after seeing, and it makes you wonder. Dylan and I think we were going out bird hunting near my camp, and I think it was years after that season, but on our way out there, do you remember that buck that crossed the road when we were on our way out there?
Yeah.
Just a monster.
Matt, that was probably that buck, man.
Well, I think that was years after. I think we were in our 20s at that point. But
regardless, that was a big ass fucking deer.
Dylan and I were crossing the Norwich and hit one of the
moose, bro.
One of the bridges. We were coming up this hill, and as we were about cresting the hill, at the top of the hill, this deer ran out, and I tapped the brakes, and Dylan and I's jaws dropped to the floor because it was very clearly a 10-point. It was like a beautiful, super symmetrical
giant rack. Yeah.
I don't remember how big it was in the body, but it looked like a big, healthy buck, in the middle of the rut. And I don't know why we were going out there at night. I have no clue, but we were crossing the Norwich at night. But man, those ones that like get away. Ugh.
Big old swamp donkeys.
Yes. So that was my first and only buck story. Passed up on plenty of doe, and I'm a meat hunter, I guess. When I do hunt, I should say when I do hunt,
can't eat the antlers.
You can't, and so it's always fun to have a big buck when you're in that kind of area. But I've got a couple of buddies that go out on like game preserve hunts and shit like this, and they're paying all this money and shit, and they're just like, oh yeah, you should have seen these things. It's $10,000 to shoot that elk, and I'm like, yeah, that fucking elk has never been in Michigan. They brought it in on a helicopter. Yeah. So they don't quite understand, the
farm raised wild game.
Yeah, but
yeah, so I met a guy one time. He was like, I went ram hunting in Gaylord, and I'm like, bro, what?
Where
are they fucking
next to a Walmart in a cornfield behind a Walmart? Oh,
yeah, I don't like that.
Green screen.
I'm not about that.
So I guess for the listeners, if you have friends, family that are deer hunting and that mow down a big
deer hunters roundup,
greasy, smelly one, text it in to us.
Send in your stats
via our email that we spam stories constantly, or our Twitter, or in my personal DMs. I'll take them. Yeah, just let's get your name, maybe a little bit of a story, the weight, field dressed, and the antler points. And if you want to send a picture, that'd be great.
Yeah,
too.
If someone has a bigger buck than my friend Colt Russell, again, I'll say 217 pounds, 20-point buck, and there's fucking proof of it, I'll Venmo you fucking $5.
And they get my Kino. I'll give them my
Kino. I'll Venmo you $20 because that's how many points my buddy's buck was.
Oh man. So
you need to have proof though, like legit fucking proof.
Yeah, 20 $20 from Dylan and my Kino winnings, so about $3.
Still only $1.
23.
I don't owe you a fucking $1, dude.
We're nickel and diming each other out here. So I will read the last bit of this, which is a good
cheers, boys.
Push for the next generation. So encourage the next generation. This is Sam Ubl's Living Legendary blog on Legendary Whitetails website. He says, encourage the next generation. Don't let deer camp become more of a thing of the past. Introduce your children to deer camp and influence them with traditions of your own. Modern day deer registration has already taken away A cornerstone from the structure deer camp was founded upon, where visiting the local registration stations has always been a place to see deer taken over the weekend, shake hands, and tell stories. Keyboard cowboys have taken their toll on the principles of hunting, creating a false perception of standards for what is worthy and what isn't. Hunting and competition have no relevance. As a hunting community, I hope we can resuscitate the traditional deer camp and introduce future generations to these topics we continue to write about. Long live deer camp.
We the people.
Come on now. So, for a bit about what I've been reading about the author, Sam Ubl was a Wisconsin native with a passion for outdoor writing, videography, and film production. He balances a 50-50 trade-off between time on the water and spent in the deer woods. If he's not casting for muskie in the summer, he's off chasing giant whitetails in the places most aren't willing to go. So, yeah, thank you to Sam Ubl and his incredible blog that he wrote that has got us all fired up for deer season, whether we can hunt or not. But yeah, it's just been, man, what a good episode. It's got me feeling good, even though I can't hunt, and maybe I can hunt. We'll determine that.
Hey man, if you get a chance, worst
Go
thing
out
you can
some
do is try.
buckshot, some public land, man. Just fucking send it.
Yeah, I got slugs lined up. I was ready for last year, but we'll see if I can make it happen. So no rifle barrel, no. I got like about 50.
Can you have a rifle barrel under that dumbass line?
I think you can. It's still a shotgun, but yeah, I've got slugs that are good.
I don't know if there was like some rule, like
up to 50 yards. Yeah, the regulations have been changing. Last year, when I went to buy a tag, I went and bought a tag from Cabela's, which seemed like sacrilege. I should have bought it at a shitty gas station with a Slim Jim and a Diet Coke with a bag of beets and and a 50-pound
and
bag
a chew
of corn
for no reason.
Yeah, right. But no, I am. Yeah, I don't know if I'll buy a tag. I don't know if I'll get up there, but if I do, it's going to be really last minute, and yeah, I don't really have a plan. So, but yeah.
Hey, well, I think I'm going to buy one and see what happens. Just go check out some state land. Probably go for a walk.
Maybe I'll just
the sun rises early, so
yeah, I'm thinking. And I don't know. Let me look at the calendar here. I think second week. Yeah, I guess I started the story earlier. And straight away, but my dad is notorious for going out on the second weekend of deer camp when everybody's gone, like everybody's just left. They've done their hunting. Maybe they got a buck, maybe they didn't. My dad will go and fire up the camp one more time, and he ends up just pulling out just the most ridiculous. Like one year, he went on the last day of rifle and pulled home like a little basket 8-point, just malnourished deer, but it was good eating. Like you said, you can't eat the antlers.
Putting in work, man.
But hey, I guess we will.
I want a good eater buck.
Yeah, that is. That's the true.
Honestly, man, drop a fucking spike or a fucking.
I will. I will drop a spike.
4-pointer, man.
I prefer a spike or a 4.
Yeah. Don't get all gamey.
Some of these older guys. Yeah. If I get a young, nice, lean buck like that, my kids will think it's fucking beef.
Good and healthy. Yeah, and you don't have
turn it all into burger.
Deer get like lake trout, right? The older they get, the nastier and greasier and gamey they get.
Yeah. And the thing is too about the butchering places, like the processing places, I just learned this, is that when you kill your deer and bring it to a place to get it processed, they process it by weight. It all gets processed and cut up the same, so you're not getting your deer back. So I definitely want to butcher my own deer this year too.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Your own deer back.
It's just like they butcher all the deer, they hang them all, and they butcher them all at once. They cure them. And
I feel like if you go to like a little bit more of a
mom and pop.
What's the word I'm looking for? Like I feel like you're like at like a big business right now.
The mom and pop place that does it around here, they just do it all by weight.
Interesting.
That's some fucking
Yeah, that's some
Well,
fucking crook shit.
if they're giving you if
Fuck
they're giving
that.
you minced like burger and stuff, then I would understand just giving you whatever. But
Well, they're doing burgers and sausage
they
and
also
shit like
probably
and like
assume
roasts. They're cutting shoulder roasts and shit like that.
they
But
also probably assume that you're that you're cutting the back straps out yourself and any organs.
I would never bring my fucking back straps. I'd never bring a deer in with the back straps. That's for sure.
Well,
If
hey,
if
we're
you
at
don't know, man, just find a buddy that knows how to fucking do it and fucking give him a 30 pack and help him out.
I think I've just fucking learn how to do it. Look
yeah,
up a couple YouTube videos.
that's what I did. I was
My
planning
dad
on
knows how.
going in relatively blind on getting my first deer without any help other than my friends
Yeah.
down here that have done it a couple times, I guess. But well, shit,
Although I am blessed by the presence of Scott and John. So,
you are.
oh
You
shit.
are.
Yeah.
sorry, I was
Where are
trying
we
to.
at?
I've been trying to
Trying to
like
end
cap
it?
it off at an hour 3 just because we're at a really good point.
I know I keep
But
extending it because I'm not
you-
sure where we're at.
do you guys have any? You guys have any last stories? Any last remarks?
No, I'm good.
Go
I
Vikings.
could keep going. Go Lions.
Yeah,
Go Packers.
go NFC.
Go NFC North.
Go NFC North,
It was a
right?
good week for the NFC North.
Yeah, it
Besides
was.
Good
the
fucking
Bears.
games. No, it's good for everyone. The Bears lost.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Man, we could go into football. Yikes. Well, hey, this has been episode 29 of Failure at its Finest Hour. Like I said, if you got your name, your deer weight, your deer antler points, and maybe a photo, we're gonna be
Credit card expiration date and
we're
last
gonna be,
3 on the back of the card.
we're gonna be keeping up with deer season amongst our
man.
friends.
Social
hey,
security number.
Follow us on Twitter at FateFower on Twitter and hit us up with an email. You'll find all of that in the comments, and if you go to Twitter, if you look us up, you'll find us. And shout out to the YouTube. We're all wearing ridiculous outfits, and I'm the lone survivor. So
No, just you.
so
I don't have anything, man.
Took my hat off.
that's all good. All right, Failure at its Finest Hour. Out.
Dude, I turned.
Thanks for listening to Failure at its Finest Hour.
I saw a dude. There was a dude ripping fucking pills in the back room one time.
Thanks for listening to Failure at its Finest Hour.
Oh yeah, side story. Remember when we drug all the equipment out of the basketball court behind that place and blew the lid off the town?
Thanks for listening to Failure at its Finest Hour.
Penguin! It was Penguin! Nice! Another perfect round.
Thanks for listening to Failure at its Finest Hour.
Distinctively remember getting thrown to the ground when that first one blew up.
Thanks for listening.